let us discuss today the graph of quadratic functions and its characteristics. We have here the vertex, the direction of the opening of the parabola, the domain, the range, the equation of the axis of symmetry, the highest or the lowest point obtained by the graph, and then the intercepts. So let us begin with example number 1. If you have y equals x squared minus 2x minus 3, and if we are going to graph, the first thing that we have to do is to get the value of h and k. Again, this is the formula for h and this is the formula for k. So the values of a here are 1, negative 2, and negative 3. If we get the value of h and if we substitute the values, h will be equal to 1. And if we get the value of k using the values of a, b, and c, we will be having negative 4. Now, for us to be able to graph the quadratic function, let us have a table of values. The values of h here, which is 1, should be written here. The value of x, we have here 1. And then what are we going to do is to complete the table for the values for x. So we will be having negative 1, 0, 1, 2, and 3. Then we are going to get the value of y using the value of x and this quadratic function. And to get the value, we have here negative 4. Where did we get this? Because this is the value of k. Because if you have the quadratic function and if you use the value of h as the value of x, which is 1, the value of y becomes the value of k. So in here, again, we have here, this is the value of h and this is the value of k. Let us now complete our table. If x is equal to negative 1, we have here negative 1. Then y is equal to 0. That's why we have there 0. If x is equal to 0, this will be cancelled out, obviously. So our value of y is equal to negative 3. And if x is equal to 2, then y is equal to 3. So let's have 3 here. And then if x is equal to 3, 3 squared is 9, 2 times 3 is 6, so it is equal to 0. So let us have 0 here. Now we are now complete with the table of values. We can already graph it in a Cartesian plane, obviously. Then if we graph it, yes, our first point, negative 1, 0 is here. Here is 0, negative 3, 1, negative 4. This is 2, negative 3, and this is 3, 0. And if we are going to connect the given points, then there is our parabola. Again, the graph of a quadratic function is called the parabola. Since we already have now the graph, we are now ready to identify the following. Let us start with the vertex. According here, vertex is the turning point of the graph. Here is our graph. Now, where is the turning point? If you are going to notice from here, our direction is going downward. But from this point, it becomes upward. So again, from here, it is downward. Then from here, it became upward. That is why we can say that this point is the turning point because this is where the direction of the graph changes. That is why this is our vertex. Again, our vertex is, yes, we have 1 and negative 4. The coordinates of 1, negative 4. And if you are going to look at here, again, this is the value of h and this is the value of k. So the vertex actually is the coordinates of the values of h and k. Did you get it? Let us continue with the characteristic. The next one will be the direction of the opening of the parabola. The direction of the opening of the parabola. And obviously, the direction here is, yes, the parabola opens upward. Next will be the domain. When you say domain, these are the possible values of x. Possible values of x, meaning to say we are going or we are referring with the values in the x-axis. Take note that our parabola extends in these two directions. So what are the possible values of x? If I have negative 5 here, can it be the value of x for our parabola? Yes, definitely it will touch there. And if you have, for example, negative 5 or 5 here, is it a possible value of x? Yes, also. Now, is there a value in y na hindi magiging value ng ating parabola? Definitely no. That is why the domain are x such that x is an element of real numbers, or simply the domain is the set of real numbers, because all the values in the x-axis are the possible values of x in our parabola, or in the points or all the points in our parabola. The next one is the range. When you say range, it is the possible values of y. This time around, we are going to look at our y-axis. So this is our y-axis. Now, are all the values in the y-axis be a value of y in every point of our parabola? Can 5 be a value of y in a point of our parabola? Yes, because the parabola again extend, so it is a possible value of y. How about negative 5? Is it a possible value of y in our parabola? No, because our parabola is this 1. So, hindi niya matatouch ang negative 5. So, what are the values, the possible values of y? It will start where? Yes, it will start from negative 4 and all the values greater than negative 4. Meaning to say, from negative 5 up to negative infinity, all these numbers cannot be a value for y in our quadratic function or in our parabola. So again, what are the possible values of y? These are the numbers from negative 4 and all the numbers greater than 4. In other words, the range is y such that y is greater than or equal to negative 4. Meaning to say, in interval notation, it is from negative 4 and all the numbers greater than 4 until the positive infinity. And then the next, we have here the equation of the axis of symmetry. The equation or the axis of symmetry divides the parabola into two equal parts such that half of the parabola is exactly the reflection of the other half. Now, this line that we draw here is the axis of symmetry because this half is actually the reflection of the other half. So in here, this is the axis of symmetry, this line, and we are looking for the equation of this line. And what is the equation of this line? The equation of this line is, we have x is equal to 1 because obviously there is 1, so it is x is equal to 1. Meaning to say, if I have a Cartesian plane, or here, if I have a line like this, what is the equation of this line? Yes, the equation is x equals negative 4. You discussed that when you were in grade 8. We are done with the axis of symmetry. Now let us proceed with the highest point and the lowest point. The point that we are talking here has something to do with our vertex. Now, here is our vertex. Is our vertex here the lowest point or the highest point? Okay, so obviously the vertex here is the lowest point. In our parabola, this is our lowest point. And if we talk of a point, we all know that a point in a Cartesian plane is expressed by an ordered pair. And obviously, the lowest point is the vertex. That is why the lowest point is the vertex 1, negative 4. But if you are asked for the lowest value, then your answer is negative 4. The value of k here. Remember, we have y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. The value of the function is the value of y. That is why if you talk of the lowest value, this is the y coordinate. So the lowest value here is negative 4. Can you still follow? Let us continue. Next, we have the intercept. This is the point or the points where the graph passes the x and y axis. X-intercept are negative 1 and 3 because this is where the x-axis and the parabola intersect. And on the other hand, our y-intercept is negative 3 because this is where our y-axis and the parabola intersect. Did you get it? Okay. Let us have one more example for you to understand better. We have y equals negative x squared plus 2x minus 1. Again, the first thing that we have to do is to get the value of h and k. For us to get it, we need to get the values of a, b, and c. And in this function, the value of a is negative 1, b is 2, and c is negative 1. Let us get the value of h. If we substitute the values, then h is equal to 1. We are going to use the value of h in our table of values. We are going to put here in the middle, so we have there 1. And let us complete the values of x. We have 1, 0, 1, 2, and 3. And if we get the value of k, which is the value of y here, let us use the formula. We will be having 0. It's either you use the formula or you substitute the value of h for x so that we can get the value of k. And if we substitute 1, the value of h, the value here 0 will be the value of k. That's why we have 0 there. And let us complete the table. If it is negative 1, okay, if it is negative 1, then y is negative 4. So let us have negative 4. Then if x is equal to 0, there you have it. This will become 0, 0. So the remaining value or term will be negative 1. And if we have 2, x is equal to 2, then the value of y is negative 1. And lastly, if x is equal to 3, then the value is equal to negative 4. Again, we already have the table of values. We are now ready to plot the points in our Cartesian plane. And here are the points. Here is negative 1, negative 4. There is your 0, negative 1. 1, 0, 2, negative 1, and 3, negative 4. If we are going to plot the points, then there is our parabola. Let us now get the characteristic. Let us begin with the vertex. Again, this is your vertex, the turning point. This is also the value of h and k. So our vertex is 1, 0. The next is the direction of the parabola this time around. What is the direction of the parabola? Yes, it is now downward. Then we have the domain, the possible values of x. Again, if we look at our x-axis, since our parabola extends infinitely on both direction, meaning to say all the numbers in the x-axis can be a value for the x-coordinate that passes through our parabola. That is why it is the set of real numbers. And then for our range, the possible values of y, since our vertex is here, so our range will be from 0. And since it is downward, so it is from 0 and all the numbers less than 0 going to negative infinity. That is why the range is y such that y is less than or equal to 0, or in interval notation from negative 8 up to 0. Then we have the equation of the axis of symmetry. Let us draw the axis of symmetry. Here is your axis of symmetry. And the equation of that axis of symmetry, saan ba nakatapat? Yes, sa 1. So the equation of the axis of symmetry is x is equal to 1. Based from here, this is our parabola. Is the vertex the highest point or the lowest point? Yes, this time around, the vertex is our highest point. Therefore, our highest point is the vertex. Therefore, the highest point is 1, 0. And if we talk of the highest value, we are referring with the value of y or the y coordinate. So, the highest value is 0. And if we get the intercept, let us begin with x-intercept. This is your x-axis. It touches the parabola here. That is why the x-intercept is 0. And then the y-intercept, here is the y-axis, and here is your parabola. They intersect at -1, so y-intercept is -1. I hope it is clear now. Let us proceed. Let us compare the result of the two parabolas or the two quadratic equation that we discussed earlier. So this is y equals x squared minus 2x minus 3. Here is the result. And the other one is y equals negative x squared plus 2x minus 1. And here is the result. We are going to compare it because we can actually get the following without graphing. Kanina, we tried to graph so that we can get these answers. But let us try to figure out how are we going to get these values without graphing our quadratic function. Let us see. Again, in our vertex, what is our conclusion earlier? The vertex has something to do with... Yes, it has something to do with the coordinates of the value of h and k. So even without graphing, you just get the value of h, you just get the value of k, and get the coordinates that is already your vertex. And how about the direction of the opening of the parabola? We have here upward and we have here downward. The question is, when will the parabola opens upward and when will it opens downward? It has something to do with the value of... Yes, it has something to do with the value of a. The value of a here is 1, which is greater than 0. The value of a here is -1, which is less than 0. So to conclude, if the value of a is positive or greater than 0, the parabola opens upward. But if the value of a is negative or less than 0, the parabola opens downward. Did you get it? Let us proceed with domain. What have you noticed with our domain? Yes, there is no difference because all quadratic function has a domain of the set of real numbers. Lahat ng quadratic function, if you ask for the domain, then it is the set of real numbers. Now, let us compare the range. Let us compare the range here. If we talk of the value of h and k, the value of the range has something to do with... Yes, it has something to do with the value of k. Take note, this is our h and this is our k. This is our h and this is our k. So our k is -4. Our k here is 0. The only difference is that if a is greater than 0, then the range is y such that y is greater than or equal to the value of k. Because it opens upward. So meaning to say, from k up to the numbers greater than k. That is why y such that y is greater than or equal to the value of k. And if a is less than 0, since it opens upward, so the value of range is from the vertex and all the numbers less than the value of k. So we have, if a is less than 0, it should be y such that y is less than or equal to k. Or if you are asked to write it in interval notation, if a is greater than 0, so it is from k going to positive infinity. And if it is less than 0, the range in interval notation is from negative infinity up to the value of k. Let us continue. We have here the equation of the axis of symmetry. Looking at the value of h and k, it has something to do with the value of? Yes, it has something to do with the value of h. The equation of the axis of symmetry is actually h and whatever the value of h. So x is equal to h. And again, the value that we are talking, or the point, if it is greater than 0, the vertex is the lowest point, and if it is less than 0, the vertex is the highest point. And if we talk of the highest point, that is the vertex or the coordinates of the values of h and k. And if we talk of the lowest value, it is the value of? Okay, it is the value of k. How about the x-intercept? How are you going to get the x-intercept without graphing? X-intercept is the value of x when y is equal to 0. So if y is equal to 0, we have 0 equals x squared minus 2x. Then we are going to solve it. X minus 3, x plus 1. So the values are 3 and negative 1. That's why we have negative 1 and 3. And also, the other one, if y is equal to 0, what are the values of x? That is our x-intercept. This expression is a perfect square trinomial. The factor is a square of binomial. So the value of x is 1. That's why we have here 1. So again, without graphing, to get x-intercept, that is the value of x when y is 0. And obviously, the y-intercept is the value of y when x is 0. Giving or looking at this one, if x is equal to 0, 0, so our y is negative 3, which is actually the value of? The value of c. In y equals ax squared plus bx plus c, and if x is equal to 0, the remaining term will be the value of c. So whatever the value of c, that is our y-intercept, the value of c. Just like in here, what is our c? That is negative 1. So our y-intercept is negative 1. For you to understand it better, let us conclude it or let us put it in this manner para mas maintindihan. Let us conclude, have our generalization or conclusion with the 7 characteristics of the graph of function. It has something to do with the value of a, if it is greater than 0 or less than 0. Let us begin with the vertex. Is there a difference? No, it is the value of h or the coordinates of the values of h and k. How about the direction of the parabola? If it is greater than 0, it is upward. Less than 0, it is downward. How about the domain? Pareho lang, the set of real numbers. How about the range? If it is in set notation, if it is greater than 0, then we have y such that y is greater than or equal to the value of k. And if it is less than 0, y such that y is less than or equal to whatever the value of k. And if it is written in interval notation, if a is greater than 0, then that is from k up to positive infinity. And if a is less than 0, then it is from negative 8 to the value of k. And the equation of axis of symmetry has something to do with the value of? The value of h. So x is equal to the value of h. Again, highest or lowest point. If a is greater than 0, the vertex is at? Yes, this one is at lowest and this one is at highest. So again, it is the value of the coordinates of the value of h and k. And if we talk of the value and not the point, it has something to do with the value of? The value of k. And the x-intercept are the values of x when y is equal to 0. And y? In a simpler manner, y is equal to the value of c. I hope you understand it. Now let us have one more example. We have y equals negative x squared plus 4. Obviously, a here is less than 0. Without graphing, let us identify the following. We simply get the value of h and k. To get the value of h, we use that formula. We do not have a linear term. That is why b is equal to 0. And 0 divided by any number is equal to 0. So h is equal to 0. To get the value of k, it's either we use the formula or we substitute the value of h to x so that we can get the value of k. And if h is equal to 0, then the value of k is 4. If h is equal to 0 and k is equal to 0, then our vertex is, yes, we have 0, 4. And how about the opening of the parabola? A is less than 0, so the direction of the opening of the parabola is, it is downward. The domain, all quadratic function, has a domain of set of real numbers. How about the range? The range, it has something to do with the value of, yes, the value of k. And since a is less than 0, then the range will be in set notation y such that y is less than or equal to the value of k, which is 4. And in interval notation, since again it is less than 0, so it is from negative infinity up to the value of k, which is 4. And the equation of the axis of symmetry has something to do with h or k. Yes, it has something to do with h. So, since h is equal to 0, the equation of the axis of symmetry is x equals 0. Since we are looking here, is it the highest or the lowest? A is less than 0, therefore we are looking for the highest point and the highest value. Therefore, the highest point is the vertex 0, 4, and the highest value is the value of k, which is 4. To get the x-intercept, that is the value of x when y is equal to 0, we simplify our equation. What happened here? We just changed the sign of our terms for us to solve it easier. And we have x squared equals x squared minus 4. We write it in x squared equals 4. By extracting the square root, the values of x are positive and negative 2. That is why the x-intercept is 2 and negative 2. And again, to get the y-intercept, no need for us to solve. The y-intercept is the value of c. And our c here is 4. That is why the y-intercept is 4. Again, this is how are you going to find this characteristic without graphing. You just need to get the value of h and k and identify whether a is greater than or less than 0. I hope you understand everything. That's it for today. Thank you for watching.